Well, the State House of Representatives ready to pass its own version of the transgender bathroom bill. It is different from the version that was passed over on the Senate side of the state capitol. It would require transgender students use the bathroom of their birth sex in public schools. Now, Senate version was a little bit tougher. It actually would have extended those restrictions not just to students in public schools, but to any state office building, driver's license buildings, the state capitol, and so forth. Passed on a party line vote. Democrats are calling it discrimination. They likened it to the Jim Crow era laws that created separate bathrooms for African Americans. If the state Senate agrees to the House version, the bill goes to Governor Greg Abbott for his signature. Conservatives, Republicans have called it one of their top priorities, but they did face threats of a boycott by businesses like the NBA, the NFL, that said it was discrimination, that they would not bring their business to the state of Texas if it becomes the law. Texas Tribune reporter Brandon Formby is live in Austin. This bathroom bill being billed as child protection. Does that satisfy the business lobby that opposed the Senate version, Brandon?
It's a lot of people are kind of upset. Some people think that it goes too far. A lot of people on the right think that it doesn't go far enough. And it's one of many bills that are kind of going to get worked out in conference committee in these last few days of the session.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of time left. Another top issue for Republican leaders is property tax relief, and there is opposition to that. Now, who in the world could be opposed to property tax relief?
Well, the big fight is over whether or not what Abbott and Patrick in the Senate want in the bill actually does provide property tax relief. They want to create a requirement where elections would have to be held for local entities like cities and counties to set their tax rate at a certain level. The House stripped that part out, and what they sent back over to the Senate has a lot of other provisions about notifications, but it doesn't have that election requirement.
Right, and cities and counties and local taxing districts are among those that say, whoa, 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 wait a minute, you know, let us decide and we'll take the consequences. If the voters don't like us, then I'll be the former mayor, not the mayor.
Right. Yeah, that's one of many arguments that cities and counties have used this session, is that, you know, there's already mechanisms in place for voters to keep their local officials in check.
Let's talk about CPS. Talk about a mess of an agency, and it's been a mess as probably since the day it was created. And there is now talk in Texas, you know, when all else fails, you outsource it. We've done that with tollways and freeways here in Texas. So now apparently we're talking about doing it with children.
Yeah, the basis for this is it's been used in Fort Worth, in and around Fort Worth, actually. And over the weekend, one of the many things that the legislature did in a very busy weekend was the House voted to expand what is called like a community-based approach, which is where they will allow they basically outsource some caseworkers' duties to nonprofits and county government agencies.
Right, right. And hopefully that works better than CPS as a big single monolithic agency has. Also, let's talk about texting while driving. Something that we have been oh so close in Texas, and many people are incredulous that there is no state law against this. There may be very soon.
Yeah, that again, another big thing that came out this weekend. It looks like after about 10 tries over the last several sessions, that may actually be getting through.
Bullet train. Can opponents derail the bullet train? It's something that, if you look at it at one level, boy, a high-speed European or Japanese-style train running between Houston and Dallas, this would be cool, but I don't want to have to pay for it.
And it doesn't look like the taxpayers will. Texas Central Partners, who's been developing the project, has said all along they're going to use private capital to fund the train, to fund the construction. It'll be over $10 billion. One of the bills that passed this weekend, it's now passed both the House and the Senate, would prevent TxDOT from using any money to help like fund the construction, operation, maintenance of the project. It was one of many bills that got filed aimed at the project, and one of few that have actually gotten through. But it shouldn't derail the project.
All right, we'll see. Also, lots of other issues, and we appreciate you keeping track of them. You can find a link to the Texas Tribune and Brandon's reporting on fox4news.com. Thanks for joining us on this Monday morning as things begin to wind down mercifully in Austin this week.